The Death by Bungee Mineral Site Method. That's this episode of Death by Bunjie. What is the Death by Bungee Mineral Site Method? Well, I'm standing out here on the ridge. I've got my little ridge staging food plot, you might remember here from Death by Bunjie. It's a food plot I've been working on here in the woods, a little staging food plot. The idea was at least the deer would hit that before they went out into the main field, into the big food plots, the destination food plots up there on the hill. Hasn't always worked out the way I'd hoped, but I'm here on the ridge below that food plot, and it's a great spot for me to have a little mineral site. I've had one here for the last couple years. I figured I'd talk about that a little bit now to show you how I do it, what's worked for me, what hasn't, and give you an idea if you're interested in mineral sites, if you're interested in improving the habitat for deer on your property, this is one way you might want to consider doing it. Now, the late deer season has ended here in northeastern Pennsylvania, and that for me means now it's time to switch over to deer habitat management. Improving the place so the deer are happier, healthier, and so that next year we have even better deer hunting. It's what I like about the outdoors, what I like about crossbow hunting, what I like about deer is the fact that I can do something practically all year long to improve the place and to get maximum enjoyment out of it. Mineral sites are a very efficient, cheap way to improve the habitat for your deer and to hold more deer, bring more deer into your property. It isn't a very expensive process. I'll show you why here in just a second. But the important thing isn't just the fact that it's not that expensive. The bang for your buck, the payoff is huge. Mineral sites can provide, I guess from reading about it, like 65 different trace minerals that deer need so they can properly process the food that we provide in those food plots. The payoff can be huge. It helps your bucks grow bigger antlers. It helps your does get healthy and make sure that they produce nice, healthy fawns. It helps them in a lot of different ways, so they're very important in my opinion. One of the first things you want to consider though before you start putting out mineral sites is whether they are legal where you are. Now, I mentioned this before. I did a series on feeding deer a couple years ago, and one of the first things you got to take into consideration is whether feeding deer is legal. Here in Pennsylvania, the mineral site is legal, but it is considered bait, and here in this part of Pennsylvania, I can't bait deer during the hunting seasons. I have to remove even mineral sites like this at least 30 days before I hunt the property. There have been prosecutions by the Game Commission in Pennsylvania against people hunting over mineral sites. So that is something that is illegal here in Pennsylvania to hunt over those, at least in this part of the state. Make sure that you're complying with your laws before you go and put in one of these sites. Once you've made sure of that, and here what I do, just to make sure I'm complying, is I pick up those rocks at least 30 days before the hunting season opens, okay? So sometime at the end of August or very early September, I pick up the rocks that I'm gonna show you here. I pick those up, put them away. I put them either in Ziploc bags if they'll fit. If they don't, I put them in little plastic shopping bags. I store them away in my tractor shed until such time as I put them out, and I put them out the day after I filled all my tags or the day after the late season ends, whichever is soonest. So I put them back out as soon as I can legally. I also go through and I will scoop up the dirt around the site to remove that residue. Residue is something that under Pennsylvania law is specifically mentioned in the regulations, so that has to be removed as well. Very easy to do, just scoop it up, put it in a bucket, dump the bucket out after the season ends. Not too hard to comply, just make sure you know what those laws are before you go and start doing any of this stuff. When do you put mineral sites out? In my case, I like to have them out as much as possible. So I put them out as soon as the hunting ends. I put them out here right after the end of the late season, the middle of January. I put these sites in, put them back in and get them all going. And I leave them out all spring and all summer so that the deer can come in here. It's a great place to get trail camera pictures of bucks in velvet, a great place to get pictures of fawns as well as other animals. Now, what are mineral sites? What are we talking about when we talk about these mineral sites? There's a variety of different ways you can do it. Some people just put out salt blocks. That's a great start. It's not necessarily the overall best option for deer. There are other options. You can go buy bags of trace minerals, bags of different minerals, and put those in a site, spread it in the ground, mix it into the dirt. My preferred way of doing a mineral site is the simplest, easiest way, and I don't think it's all that expensive. I use trophy rocks. I've had great success with it, and I see no reason to switch. Price-wise, you can get one of these trophy rocks for about $15, and that includes all 65 minerals that are naturally mined from one location here in the United States. Basically, they are mined there, and all those minerals exist in the rock. You put the rock somewhere, believe it or not, the deer can smell it, they will find it and start using it almost immediately. The same folks who bring you the trophy rock also have another product called 465. That is a mineral supplement. It's the exact same composition as the rock. The only difference is it's small fragments of the rock that have been crushed. So it's a pelletized form of it. It's a crushed form of it. What's the difference between the two? Chemically, biologically, there's no difference. They provide the same nutrients, the same minerals and whatnot. But the difference is the application. The rock, you lay it there, the deer will lick the rock, they will work that rock into the ground, they'll eat the dirt around it as that rock dissolves. A good rainstorm will help dissolve that rock. But essentially those nutrients are there. The crushed version, the 465, I tend to dump that on top of the rock. One thing I've noticed about that is that it disappears a lot quicker. The deer will eat those little small fragments of rock, they'll chew them up, they'll consume them a lot faster. It also leaks into the ground, so that's why I remove the dirt. On one hand, that can be a problem. If you have to keep replacing it, that can get kind of expensive over a period of time. On the other hand, the way I look at it is if deer are using it faster, it's because they need it. I haven't seen deer eat more than what they want. They don't use the minerals more than what they need. So essentially, the more of it I have out, if I have it available and they're using it, that's fine by me. Now, one of these trophy rocks, the actual rock, big heavy rock, probably go through about 2 of those a summer on each site. Those will run you about $15 is all for one of those rocks here at a local Tractor Supply in northeastern Pennsylvania. Where you are, it might be more, it might be less. Sometimes you can get them on sale, but essentially that's the cost. Not too much, 15 bucks, put a rock out there and you're providing minerals for the deer that use your property. 2 of them per year, in my experience, has been plenty. So that's like 30 bucks per site per year. And keep in mind, though, that I'm not using them during the hunting period. So it's about 9 months of the year. One of those rocks appears to go about 4.5 months, I would say, here per site. The crushed stuff, like I said, goes a lot faster. One 30-pound bag of that will cost you about $15. Believe it or not, recently here I got a couple bags on sale for $5.29 or something like that. That's just awesome. When you get a deal like that, if you see a deal like that going on where you are, let me know. I will go pick some up. Hit me up on Facebook. I will go to wherever you are and buy some, fill my car up with bags. Or whatever. But that's a great deal. $5 for a 30-pound bag of that stuff is a steal. Now the next question is, how many of these different sites should you put out, or how many can you put out? Like I've told you before, I got about 40 acres I work with here on Death by Bungee. I have 3 different destination food plots, pretty large food plots that I put in, and I'm adding a few smaller staging food plots alongside those in different areas. Those staging food plots, if I have 3 of those and 3 destination food plots, I want 3 mineral sites. And the reason I do that is I like to have one of these sites right next to one of the staging food plots. There's a couple of reasons for that. One reason is that's generally a safer place. If you put these rocks out in the middle of the field, out in the middle of the food plot, the deer may be a little cautious of using that during the daytime. They aren't going to feel as comfortable going to that mineral site. I want them to use it. I want them to feel as comfortable as possible using it. So I put it down here. It's not really within sight of the house, not really within sight of any roads. It's down in the woods a little bit where they will feel a little bit safer, hopefully. It's also, though, next to the staging food plot. And my thinking is, if they feel comfortable using this rock, then when that starts growing again in the spring, they will feel comfortable using the food plot. And if they start feeling comfortable using the food plot, when I take the rock away a month or so before the hunting season, they'll still come back. And even though the rock is gone, even though the minerals have been removed, hopefully they will still feel comfortable enough to use that food plot. So I'll have deer comfortable in the area using the resources that I provided. And that's the hope anyway, that's the plan. The Trophy Rock website, if you read that, says that they recommend one site for every 80 to 100 acres. That should be sufficient. And that's probably true as long as you keep a fresh rock there. That probably is enough sites. But because I've got the 3 food plots, because I want to see deer in these 3 places, I use 3 different sites. Now, when I did that video about feeding deer, one of the things I always do when I put up feeders is I always clear the area out. I try to get rid of all the rocks, all the branches, all the stuff that's on the ground, so that if there's any competition among the deer here, if they are fighting over something, they won't get injured or anything like that. You don't want a congested area for deer. So I try to clear this area out, and there's a couple other branches that have fallen that before I leave here this afternoon, I'll get rid of these branches. Now, it's possible you put one of these in, you put it in a spot where deer don't like it. They don't like that location for whatever reason, and it's possible that then you end up without deer using it. If that's the case, move it to the other side of the food plot. Move it down the hill, move it up the hill, move it to a different location. If deer aren't using this thing within a week, then it's in just a bad location for them. They don't like the location for one reason or another. This location I've always had good success with. I've always had deer using it. Other than that, the only other thing you got to do with these mineral sites, once you've got these rocks, they kind of do it all for you. Just put the rock out. The only other thing I think you need to do is pitch up a little trail camera up there, put up a trail camera over the site so you can track the deer and how they're using it. Put a camera up there, enjoy those pictures, and just keep that site replenished until it's time to take it out for whatever reason, legally or otherwise. Well, I hope you found this video interesting. Mineral sites for me are one of the best parts of deer management as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the cheapest, easiest ways to really help the deer on your property. And I hope that you got something out of this video, and I hope that you go out and put in a site of your own if you haven't done so already. Make sure you subscribe here on Death by Bunjie for more videos. Like the Facebook page because I put trail camera pictures on there all the time of the various different mineral sites that I have, and trail camera pictures of other parts of this place as well. Got a lot of neat discussions on there. So make sure you check that out if you haven't. And until next time, all hail Bunjie! The second state is #1 in my